The morning light? A soft, uncertain glow filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows across the worn wooden floor. It was a morning like any other, or so it seemed. Yet, a subtle tremor ran through the air, a whisper of something profound about to unfold. Have you ever felt that? That prickling sensation? A premonition that the ordinary is about to give way to the extraordinary? If you're seeking peace, direction, and strength for your day, consider subscribing to our channel, where each morning brings a fresh dose of spiritual nourishment. My name is Sarah, and what I'm about to share with you isn't a fictional tale, but a raw, unvarnished account of how a single ancient text, the Bible, utterly reshaped the very foundations of my existence. It began during a period of profound unraveling. The world as I knew it was a chaotic symphony of fear and uncertainty. My marriage, once a beacon of unwavering love, had fractured into 1,000 shards of resentment and misunderstanding. Financially, we were adrift, tossed in an unrelenting sea of mounting debts. And personally, a gnawing anxiety had taken root, a constant companion that whispered doubts and despair in my ear, stealing sleep and joy. One particularly bleak morning, as the first rays of sun struggled to pierce the gray, I found myself staring blankly at the ceiling. The silence of the house was deafening, amplifying the cacophony within my mind. My husband, Mark, had left for work hours earlier, another strained goodbye hanging heavy in the air. Our children, bless their innocent hearts, were still asleep, oblivious to the storm raging around them. I remember the weight of it all, pressing down, suffocating. It was in that moment, a moment of utter desolation, that a forgotten voice, a faint echo from my childhood, surfaced. A Sunday school teacher, her voice gentle but firm, speaking of a book, a divine word, capable of moving mountains. I scoffed internally. Mountains? My mountain was an insurmountable Everest of debt, a chasm of emotional disconnect, and a pervasive sense of dread. What good could an old book do? Yet a tiny, desperate flicker of curiosity ignited within me. An impulse, perhaps divinely inspired, led me to a dusty bookshelf in the spare room, a relic from my grandmother's possessions. There, tucked between forgotten novels, was a worn Bible, bound in leather. Its pages, brittle with age, carried the scent of time and untold stories. I opened it at random, my eyes falling on a passage from the Psalms. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." The words, simple yet profound, seemed to leap off the page. I read them again and again. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. A strange calm began to settle over me, a feeling I hadn't known in months. It was a fleeting moment, a tiny crack in the wall of my despair, but it was enough. It was the first clue in a mystery I was unknowingly embarking upon, the mystery of how intangible words could manifest tangible transformation. Over the next few weeks, a ritual began to form. Each morning before the children woke, before the demands of the day could fully descend, I would retreat to that quiet corner with the old Bible. I wasn't seeking answers to specific problems, at least not consciously. I was simply reading, allowing the words to wash over me. Sometimes a verse would resonate so deeply it felt like a direct conversation. Other times I'd find myself simply contemplating the imagery, the ancient wisdom, the sheer poetry of it all. It wasn't a sudden, miraculous cure. The financial struggles didn't vanish overnight, nor did the tension with Mark dissipate with a single scripture. But something subtle, yet undeniable, was shifting within me. The anxiety, once a constant hum, began to quiet. I found myself taking deeper breaths, observing the world around me with a newfound clarity. The small joys, previously eclipsed by my worries, started to re-emerge. The scent of coffee, the sound of the birds, the warmth of the sun on my skin. These simple blessings, once overlooked, now felt like precious gifts. This wasn't just a mental shift, it was a spiritual awakening. I was learning to lean on something larger than myself, something immutable and eternal. One evening, After another difficult conversation with Mark about our finances, I found myself returning to the Psalms. This time, a different passage caught my eye. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act. This wasn't just a comforting thought, it was a directive, a call to action, yet an action rooted in faith, not frantic effort. I realized then that my frantic efforts to control everything had only amplified my anxiety. What if I surrendered? What if I truly trusted? The next day I started small. Instead of immediately panicking about the overdue bills, I prayed. Not a desperate pleading prayer, but a prayer of surrender, of placing the burden in higher hands. I also began to speak differently to Mark. Instead of accusations and blame, I started expressing my fears and hopes, not just for our finances, but for our relationship. I discovered that when I approached him with an open heart, softened by the words I had been absorbing, his defenses lowered. We started talking, truly talking. For the first time in years, the path wasn't linear. There were still moments of doubt, moments when the old anxieties tried to resurface. But each time I returned to the source, to the divine word. I found strength in verses like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and comfort in, be anxious for nothing but in everything by prayer and supplication. With thanksgiving let your requests be made known to God. These weren't just words on a page anymore. They were living, breathing truths that infused my spirit with resilience. The financial situation didn't magically resolve itself, but opportunities began to appear. A freelance project for Mark, a small but steady income stream I hadn't anticipated. Our marriage, though still a work in progress, began to mend, thread by careful thread. The bitterness faded, replaced by empathy and a shared commitment to rebuilding. My anxiety, once a monstrous shadow, receded to a manageable size, a quiet reminder rather than an overwhelming force. What I discovered, through this deeply personal investigation, was that the divine word isn't merely a collection of ancient texts. It is a living, breathing force capable of penetrating the deepest recesses of the human heart and mind. It doesn't offer quick fixes or magical solutions, but rather a profound shift in perspective, an unwavering source of peace, and an enduring strength to face life's inevitable challenges. It transforms lives not by changing external circumstances directly, but by transforming the inner landscape, equipping us to navigate those circumstances with faith and hope. My shocking story, as I called it, isn't shocking because of grand miracles or dramatic interventions, but because of the quiet, consistent, and utterly profound way that daily engagement with the divine word transformed a life teetering on the brink. It's a testament to the power of consistent spiritual nourishment, of starting each day with intentional connection to something greater than ourselves. If you find yourself in a place of anxiety, fear, or overwhelming challenges, I urge you, don't dismiss the power of ancient wisdom. Just as I did, allow yourself to be drawn into its mystery, to uncover its transformative power. The journey continues, of course. Life still presents its trials, but now I face them with a different spirit, armed with a peace that transcends understanding. The morning light still filters through the blinds, but now it illuminates a home filled with a quiet hope, a renewed connection, and a heart at peace. And that, my friends, is a transformation more profound than any mountain moved. If this story has resonated with you, and you're ready to invite this kind of peace and direction into your own life, then please, hit that subscribe button, join our community, and let's begin each day together, rooted in faith and hope.